Again, people, it is great to be joining you today. I'm Juno, the lead pastor, and I'll be continuing in our series, our summer series, Summer in the Proverbs. But before that, you need to see my grandkids, right? Okay, let me. Okay, this is Roman, and I got a call a week ago. Not a call, a text. At 6 in the morning, Sunday, daughter saying, "Dad, can you come here this week?" I said, "Like tomorrow?" She goes, "That would be great." Because he was getting a little, doesn't he look like me? But I think most of you know, my daughter's adopted, and I don't know how that happened, but anyway, he does look like me. But anyway, he had a tongue tie. They had to zap some stuff in his mouth and tongue, and so I was there to help with that and to help take care of Ezra. We can take a look at Ezra here. That's what happens when Papa babysits. He loves playing in the sandbox, and to all parents, they're a wise investment. That was before his nap. Papa takes him out for ice cream. He loves ice cream. And why does he go to the bottom of the cone? I have no idea. But it was a disaster. And then I think there's one more. Yes. We had to do some activities to keep this kid active, and so he helped plant some flowers. Yes, it's a little late in the year, but who cares? Ezra, he first put the buds in the pots. I go, no, the bottom, that's how it drinks water. He was more excited about watering those things than he was planting. But nonetheless, I left Sunday, came back yesterday in time for our summer spectacular, and okay. People, you complain about Michigan's weather. I'm here yesterday sweating, wearing shorts, and by the time the fireworks, it's long sleeves, long underwear. It is cold here. But anyway, it was a great time. So as we then transition from these wonderful grandkids, let me say one thing. I went with Mackenzie to get, a revision that's called for the tongue. And if you were a betting person, you probably would have bet I would cry my eyes off. I didn't shed one tear, and that's because I was in the waiting room, and it was Mackenzie that took him back there. She goes, "Dad, I think it was worse for me than it was him." But anyway, all that went well. He, better to have that done now versus when he's 13 or 14. But anyway, so it was a very busy week, and I also said to several staff, I think it's easier to lead a church than it is to parent. So again, all my hats off to all of you parents. It seems so long ago for me, but the job never ends, and it's all good things. You don't raise kids to be quiet and sit at the table and eat. You raise them to enjoy life and to have fun and explore, and they're exploring. But nonetheless, to our parents, either home because those kids are going all over, or here, thank you. And thank you for trusting your kids with us in our children's program. Okay, let me pray now. Okay. Again, Lord, for these, your people, thank you. For this, your house, your church, thank you. And for the freedoms we have as a country to be able to gather together and to worship you without persecution, thank you. And forgive us for taking that for granted. Forgive us for just thinking that just sort of happens mysteriously. But thank you for this country that we live in, where we have these freedoms to worship you, these freedoms to live outside of these walls and to share you. And so I just pray for everybody who are connected with us today, Lord, that you will help them to dial in to what you may have to say to them about the subject of friends. In your name I pray, amen. So again, we're going through Proverbs throughout the summer. Each speaker is going to share maybe one of their favorite, I don't know if it's one of their favorite, but they get to choose what they are speaking on. And so Proverbs it's called the wisdom literature, one of the books in the Old Testament about wisdom. And it just has some very practical and wise advice to people. And it talks about what happens when you make wise decisions and what happens when you don't make wise decisions. And I think some of us probably live in both of those worlds at one time or another. But it is a reminder about the God that we serve and the reverence that we have for him. And there, again, like I've said before, read a proverb a day, each day of the week. So what's today's date? 30th. Okay. Ooh, you can start this tomorrow. Is it the first? I don't know how many days are in here. Anyway, you can read Proverbs 30 when you go home. Oh, I preached on that a few weeks ago. Read that and then start over again with Proverbs 1 and just work through it. If you don't know what to read, I read a Proverbs a day. And so again, I've been doing some reading and some reflecting and thinking about what Proverbs should I speak on. It's an open book. I can do whatever I feel like doing. And so I'm thinking through my life and what events have happened to my life and what makes Juno. You're probably wondering the same thing at times. What in the world is he? But anyway, and so I'm just thinking and what can I talk about from Proverbs? And so I've been trying to zero in on that. And so I've been reading a book about how to write a book. And so one of those tasks in that book is to do it like a brain dump. You know, it says put on the wall, anything you think of about what you may want to write a book about. And so here's a picture of my wall at home. Is it a picture or a video? It's a little video. All these things, I could talk about. Okay, I did this video. You can tell it's not as good. When to ask for help. Let's see here. Good fast food, adoption. There's grief. Let's see, solitude. I think there's one. Okay, how to tease your associate pastors, Okay, good fast food. Okay. Anyway, somewhere, let's see here. I did this a week ago. Come on. Oh, there we go, friends. As I'm doing a brain dump, trying to figure out what's a potential book for me, one of them is Friends. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, is the idea of friends. And obviously, some of those items you're going to hear about later in life. I'm not sure if it'll be next time I preach, but you'll be hearing about those things. And let me just say this, and while the subject of friendship, I think, is maybe a common to people. Friends, there's been a movie. How many of you watch Friends? There's the sitcom Friends. There's songs about friends. Friends. Come on, give us something more biblical about to speak on. But the studies, which have changed dramatically since COVID, but studies are saying that there's 40% of people say they do not have one close friend. That's staggering to me. So if you just talk reality here, if there's 200 people in here, 40% of you, according to this study, would say you do not have one close friend. And that is something for us to lean into and to be aware of as we go through our life. And so while I would like to unpack that whole thing, that's probably a whole nother sermon and a study about loneliness and friendship and all that kind of stuff. I am really just going to try to zero in on the two verses we heard in the video bumper about friendship. And so that's, I've narrowed it down to those two verses. I'm going to repeat them again and talk a little bit from Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. Again, this verse just simply underscores the importance of supportive and loyal friendships, especially during some challenging times that you may have. And it's also, having a friendship can help combat loneliness, which is different than being lonely, but loneliness. A friend helps to bring those feelings into balance. And really, people, it's pretty straightforward. I don't need to talk for 45 minutes I'm not talking for 45 minutes, but I don't need to talk about friendships from that perspective. It's pretty straightforward, and maybe that's why this whole book of Proverbs is what's called the wisdom literature, because it's down to earth, practical ways on how to live our lives. And then Proverbs 18:24, we read, a man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Again, this verse just highlights the value of true and of loyal friendships, and suggesting that having even one trustworthy friend can help us escape that cycle of just being lonely. It's amazing what one friend can do. And now let me just tag on to that verse, because for a while, as I was a teenager and growing up, some would say you still haven't grown up, but nonetheless, that verse would be, oh, there's a friend that sticks closer closer than a brother, and that friend is Jesus. And so, okay, next verse. And yet, while Jesus can really fit the bill, and he should be our closest friend, that's what makes us a believer, is by opening our heart to this Jesus. It doesn't limit our friendships to just Jesus. And I've met people that said, I don't need other people. I've got Jesus. And I'm like, wrong answer. Now, you don't need to win the approval of everybody, and you don't need to get all these pats on the back from people. And while you've opened your heart to Jesus, the creator of the world, who has saved you, it doesn't mean that's the only friend you need in this world. And so if you were brought up in that tradition, let me just challenge you on that while we love Jesus, while he has changed us from the inside out, while he has gotten us through some rough roads in life, you need more than Jesus. And that's why he has created us for community. And again, they're just familiar words that we read, that we have today, and that you'll hear all summer long, month long, about this. In this case, it's the importance of friendships. And so let's just take a little deeper look at those two verses. And again, I'll have them up on the screen, Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born in times of adversity. And so really, folks, this is talking about, again, enduring friendships. It's a proverb that emphasizes the consistency of true friends. And if you're one of those 40% that say, I don't have a close friend, there's just nobody to talk to, you can resonate with this, that it's easier said than done. And yet a genuine friend remains supportive and loving in all circumstances. Even when you've done some things that the proverbs say, don't do it, your friends will still love you and support you through those types of situations. This verse talks about family and brotherhood. And it's the second part of that proverb that compares a friend and even a brother. And while a brother in this case is really talking about a family member, it also is talking about friends that will love you closer than a brother, and that friendship will often expand beyond that of your natural brother. Now, I grew up in an Armenian family, and my mom would always say, blood is thicker than water. There is nothing more important in life than family. And whenever we got in arguments, that was one of her go-to lines. Blood is thicker than water. And yet our family had some issues. And while blood may be thicker than water, at times it just isn't it. And so I think the blessings of friendships is that when those family ties disintegrate, or somebody says something stupid at the next 4th of July, you know you're going to talk politics, and someone's going to say, what? Did you watch the video? Did you watch the debate? And people are be going, and people love Jesus are going toward each other because they don't agree on stuff. And again, we're a church that's not going to say we are all not going to vote the same way. And you are part of a church that there are people who are different from you sitting right next to you. But we are saying our God is greater than any political side, any political division. And if any place, folks, we need to be able to create the place where we can say, so why do you think this? Why do you think that? Show me that in Scripture. And we need to be able to have those conversations knowing that, again, I have friends on both sides of the equation, folks, and we have some incredible conversations, but we are still great friends despite that. So that's an added bonus to this sermon. But anyway, so just remember the idea of how important it is to have friends beyond your family. And then it also just talks about, the communal and the familial. Did I say? I've been practicing that for 3 days. Familial, right? Something like that? Bonds that happen. Again, in ancient Israel society, people, the family bonds are very, very, very important. Now, my mom would have said that's because Noah landed his ark in Armenia, Mount Ararat, right? Any history specialties? She goes, we were the first Christians. And then she'd go off on her soapbox. But again, in Israel, as we talked about often, the idea of community is key. But again, this Proverbs is talking about also in your family is key. And I know there's drama out here in this crowd. There's drama in my life. I mean, families do not always agree, or you say one thing and it's like, yeah, I'm not going down that road either. It's like everything goes off track. It's like, I just said this, I wasn't meaning that. All that to say is, in ancient Israel, the idea of making family work and working together as a family was very important. But it's also saying, so is that of friendships. Then as we look at Proverbs 18:24, a man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend, again, who sticks closer than a brother. And so it is important for us. Let me just say this. I found this video. I hope you love it. And if you don't, blame our intern Luke, because he said to run this. Take a look at this.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we going to take?
Do you get that? I mean, that's the kind of friend you need. Now, I didn't say what they were doing is legal. I don't even know what the movie this thing is from. But I just thought that's what you need. When you say, you unload to your friend about something, and it's like, what car are we going to take? That's the kind of friend I want. Luke, get us some bumper stickers. I'm only teasing Luke. That say, what car are we going to take? It doesn't mean you understand everything, but I do think this passage is talking about a friend. Okay, back there they would have said, whose camel are we going to take? If I put it in context. Whose car are we going to take? Do you have a friend that you can unload on and he or she is going to say, whose car are we going to take? And so again, as I hope you thought that video was as funny as I did, but I saw it months ago. I go, I'm going to use this somewhere in a sermon, and I'll blame Aaron too. I go, are we going to get stalked by the Facebook police by running this? He goes, let's give it a try. So we did. Okay, quality versus the quantity of friendships. That's what this is talking about. A man of many companions may come to ruin. And so it's one thing to have a bunch of friends, or acquaintances would be a better word in our culture. But it's another thing to have that friend who says, whose car are we going to take? I should have named this sermon that. Whose car are we going to take? People, we need to have a friend. You need to have a friend who's going to say, whose car are we going to take? And so there's the quality over the quantity. Again, a bunch of acquaintances, but whose car are we going to take? And it's that whose car are we going to take friend who's going to help guide us and be supportive of us when the stuff of life hits the fan. Jesus hears us. He knows our brokenness. But whose car are we going to take when something needs to be done? And that's what true loyalty is about friendships. It just the idea of the richness. And you've heard this illustration before about, it doesn't make a difference how many cars you have, how many houses you have, how big your IRA is. It comes down to relationships. And that's what Proverbs is talking about when it talks about friendships. It's who is most loyal to you. And don't, if you're part of that 40% who don't have a friend, don't give up ship. Don't turn off the TV. Listen, because I think this is a great season. It's the summertime. Things are a little bit slower, except here at the church. But it's a time to rethink some stuff. It could be our mid-year reset, our mid-year resolutions as to, okay, how can I be that loyal friend? Don't go there about, well, I don't have a friend. I don't have any loyal friends. Poor me. The question is then, who can you be the friend to? So reverse that from feeling bad or sorry about yourself, but who can you drive for? And again, these verses really are similar. Both Proverbs emphasize the value of true friendships and the value of loyalty and of support that they bring. They both recognize that genuine friends can provide, again, significant support, often surpassing what family members can do. And then both highlight the importance of the relational quality. And many of you have those friends that you haven't touched base with them, but when you come together, it's like no time has passed at all. And again, it just talks about that some of the differences. The first verse talks about the enduring nature of friendship and just the kind of support that happens in difficult times. And then the second verse, it just talks about, it's really a warning. Okay, Facebook wasn't around back then, in case some of you were wondering. But it's like all these friends you supposedly have on Facebook, but yet when the stuff of life hits the fan, who is there for you? So I do think, again, I use social media a lot. But it does create a false sense of intimacy and friendship, that being together, that's why we say if you're at home watching online, that's wonderful. But there's nothing like coming in, being in the presence of a friend, actually shaking their hand, looking eye to eye, having these conversations. And so, and again, this just really talks about this was the Proverbs in Israel's time, and even there's other verses about relationships. But Proverbs has in there the importance of friendships. And again, I just don't want to insult you guys to think, yeah, we all know that, Juno. Let's get on it. Let's get on with it. But the idea that 40% of people claim they don't have a close friend, it's something that we need to be able to talk about that. We need to be able to address that. And if you're one of those 40%, I want to say I'm sorry. I'm also going to say I can't be your friend. I can't be a friend to hundreds of people. None of us can. And so that's why what's important to be able to say, okay, Lord, who are you calling me to be a friend to? And we're going to talk about those steps in just a second. Again, I shared back in January, the Attorney General, Murthy, said that he's declaring our current place in our world as an epidemic of loneliness, which which reflects what's going on in Proverbs, and that the idea of loneliness does affect public health, and it affects what happens to people when they're lonely. The risk of serious health conditions just skyrockets. Issues like heart disease and stroke and coughing, and premature death. The emotional and the mental health consequences of being friendless is just huge, people. And some of you can testify to that. And hey, Luke, can you bring me up that water by you? Not yours, mine. Thank you. Oops, I'm going to kill the mic for a second. Okay, so again, going back to some of the stuff from the attorney, from the Surgeon General, not the Attorney General, Surgeon General. From COVID, we jumped from 5% to 28% of people feel depressed. And believe it or not, the majority of those are between the ages of 12 and 17. And so that's something, as Pauline takes these kids on a mission trip, as she hangs out with them selling fireworks, as she hangs out with them on Sundays and on Wednesdays, it's like many of those kids, for us older people, we're thinking, how does a 12-year-old feel depressed? That isn't for us to determine. It's to realize the reality is they are. And so she has an incredible ministry with those students. And again, as we hear about what the Surgeon General is saying, which supports what we read throughout Scripture and in Proverbs, it supports what doctors are saying, it supports what counselors are saying, and what teachers are saying, and what pastors are saying, is that we need to slow down our lives and not be so busy. We've bought into the myth/lie that busyness is next to godliness. I was asked yesterday at the summer spectacular, hey, how's the summer? I said, it's going great. It's real busy. And then I backed out. No, that's just a habit to say. Being busy isn't always good. I go, but things are going great at the church. We look at these volunteers. And so I shifted it from being busy to what God is. I go, look at all these people. And most of these people do not go to New Life. We partner with Olive Crest. And there were 250 of the family members that are part of Olive Crest's outreach to restore families and bring hope back to families and as well then create a safe place for children. But I do think one of the things we need to get rid of is that myth that busyness is next to godliness. I don't think anybody's going to tell you that is found in Scripture. We need to look at our to-do list and revamp them. And it depends on how you keep that to-do list. If it's paper and pen or paper and pencil, then cross off some things. That's what you do, just get rid of it. If it's on a computer, highlight and hit delete. We've got to slow down our lives so that we have the time. We have the mental capacity to actually listen to and interact with people that most likely need a friend. We need to, again, get rid of the myth that godliness is next to, that busyness is next to godliness. And so then, let me say this. All kinds of studies are coming out now about pastors. Luke, you want to be a pastor one day. We're not sure where or what capacity, but we didn't have this kind of stuff when I was going through seminary 30 years ago. You know that most pastors are feeling, they're running on E when it comes to relationships. That when your relationship tank is empty, then you question your calling. You question, why am I doing what am I doing? All this work when it feels like I don't have a friend. And so most pastors don't have a friendship outside of their church. And that's concerning. And maybe because I was in my late 30s when I became a pastor. But the Lord had blessed me with friendships before I became a pastor. And the Lord has blessed me with friendships since then. So, as I wrote the guy that gave me some of these statistics, I said, I think I'm weird. Yeah, my daughter tells me that too. I said, but I just don't fit into that category. I said, I have friends from the West Coast to the East Coast and people in between where God has just blessed my life with friendships. When I used to run half marathons, I think 4 of them, as I was running those marathons, I would do a mental checklist of the people in my life, and I would finish the marathon just in tears thinking of how blessed I've been. Yep, sure, my parents were divorced. Sure, my dad died the month before my wife did. Sure, I'm now living the exciting single life in California. But I just feel beyond blessed that God is with me, that God is guiding my steps, and so much of that is because of the friendships that He has blessed us with. So I'm going to take just a few minutes to say, so how do we have these friends? And I know if you're an introvert, you're thinking, I don't need a friend. My friend is Jesus, or my friend is my spouse. And that's another myth. Your only friend can't be your spouse. So I'm just going to close my eyes because I don't want anybody to think I'm looking at them. But if you're thinking your only friend you need in life is your spouse, you are going to be greatly disappointed. Okay, I don't want to get too dizzy with my eyes closed. Folks, that's another myth. Now, your spouse can be a great friend, but God has also put other people potentially in your life if you open your eyes, slow down your pace, and actually listen to see what God may have to say. So I've got a bunch of research, and that's why I'm going to write a book on it one day, just about from different counselors and psychologists and, movements about relationships. And so rather than just be the pastor that says, you need a friend. Time you have a friend, I'm going to give you some practical steps because a sermon without practical steps is just a talking head on Sunday. So they look at these. So here's how to try to, one more thing. If we're supposed to be new life for the city, and I embrace that 100%, the only way we're going to be that new life for the city is if we have relationships, if we have some friendships with people even outside of this church. And that was, if you were here last night, friends, there are so many people outside of New Life here. What a wonderful, wonderful opportunity we have to be New Life for the city. So here's the thing. Here are some steps. Number one, be open and be approachable. There you go, number one. And how do you do that, folks? I know this is basic, but if 40% of you are saying, I don't have a friend, 40% of us need to look at this, and the rest of us need to be reminded about this. We need to smile and make eye contact. And again, a friendly demeanor can often help others to be more comfortable when you approach them or they approach you. Your body language, if you're, no, I'm making sure nobody's sitting that way. Okay, good. Dave, you're not either. Good. Dave's like rubbing, no, I'm not, that's not me. Okay, anyway, no, watch your body language because it says a lot without you saying a word. And face people. My wife would always be, she goes, when you greet people in the church lobby, your eyes are always looking elsewhere. She goes, no, that's not nice. She goes, look at the people you're talking to. And because I'm always looking at, who don't I know? Who's the guest? And she goes, no, you got to look at the people you're talking to. And then you need to have a positive attitude in welcoming others and just being positive in life. Corey, I'm going to pick on you, sorry. If you don't know Corey, you should. Corey is one of the most positive people we have here in the church. I mean, she's always sending me emails and, thank you, Pastor. And, it would be easy to have lunch with Corey. Rich, you can come along too, her husband. But you know what? You just want to be with her because she's positive. And so you may think, oh, it's no big deal. And you may think, oh, God's gifted me with this analytical mind and I can process things and I can critique things. Yes, God probably has. But you need to balance that with being positive. And then you need to find some common interest. You need to join some groups, join some clubs. There's plenty of things out there that you can join to meet other people. Again, be careful with this because I shared with somebody once about being lonely, and they're like, well, you need to do this and do this. It's like, don't tell me what to do. So I don't want to be up here telling you what to do, offering suggestions that if you're trying to find a way to meet some new people, join some groups. In fact, even at the church, we have life groups. It can be of all kinds of backgrounds, but that's another good way to meet some new people, to join a life group or to get a bunch of your friends and make your own life group up. To attend some events and some social gatherings. Again, Summer Spectacular, hundreds of people were here. And it's amazing when you start to attend these things, you start to see some people and you realize, oh, I think I saw them here. Or do you go here? And it just opens up doors of conversation. And you can serve. The Surgeon General said what happened with COVID is that, and they mentioned churches could no longer, you weren't able to serve. So what happened is you just weren't interacting with people. And so loneliness jumped up. And then nowadays, there's online communities. I'm talking about the healthy ones, not the bad ones. But it just wasn't an option years ago. And I am amazed at how connecting online with people does help broaden your perspective. You need to be a good listener. You need to show some genuine interest in what is being said. And you need to be active listening. Ask some additional questions. Ooh, I guess these guys are ready for the pastor to get off stage. See, I can take a hint. They didn't say a word, but I can take that hint. I'll also tell them when to come out anyway. So, okay, and I need to avoid interrupting. No, I guess I do. We need to avoid interrupting if you want to hear somebody's story and listen to them. And we need to often make the first move. Okay, sorry, Luke, you're sitting there. Ryan's not here. You're getting picked on. But you need to make the first move. And I'm not talking about dating, buddy. I'm just talking about make the first move in a friendship. Ask the question, how long have you been here? Is this your first year at the Summer Spectacular? One we asked yesterday, you'll hear about it later, is how are the ribs compared to this year from last year? So you need to come back and hear some of that dialogue. But anyway, just start some conversations, and you can extend some invitations. Hey, let's grab coffee. Or what are you doing after church? Let's just simply get together. And then I'm going to say follow up, people. We need to follow up. When somebody says, can you pray for? Yes, but then follow up with them. And you just need to be constant and reliable. You need to be a regular person, not just every 6 months, but if you're talking about creating that who's going to drive friend, that didn't happen just because they met someplace once. But it's over years and years of showing up and being a regular person, just being there. And you need to keep your promises, which are easier said than done. And for me, texting has been a wonderful way for me to stay connected and to keep promises and to be praying for people. And you need to be patient. Developing friendships takes time, and the attitude is shifting. Remember, don't say, well, yeah, I can confess I'm one of those 40 people that say I don't have a good friend. Shift that to say, okay, who can I be a friend to? Not about, oh, woe's me, which is a authentic feeling, but rather shift that to say, what can I do? How can I make a difference in somebody else's life? And so again, I was married to an introvert. We had different perspectives on social lives and what to do. But one of the key things as a church and a blessing is that we have, again, what we call life groups, opportunities to gather with people and to listen to others, to hear their story, to figure out who you can pray for. So it's not just all about me or you, so to speak, it's about others. And again, we're going to be launching a bunch of new groups in the fall. You can go online. You can sign up to lead a group. You can sign up for more information. But that's a great next step. If you're just wondering, okay, yeah, I'll buy it. The Bible says we need friends, so that makes sense. I better say yes to that part. So what are you going to do? You need to take a step someplace. And as I wrap up, and I'm wrapping up, having a friend isn't an option, people. Yes, Jesus needs to be your best friend. But here on earth, God has given you many people, or potentially many people. And I'm just saying, start with one. People that you can be a friend to, that you can drive that car for, that you can be there when it hits the fan, and that they can be there when it hits the fan for you. Because now, switching gears, it's all about me being selfish, because that friend is going to save you from probably months and months of mental anguish about what's going on. They're going to be able to affirm you as a person. They're going to be able to love you no matter what you did or didn't do. And it's like saving money in the bank. It's easier said than done. But when you need that savings, you're like, yes, there's the money for the tires. Or yes, we can replace the AC because you've spent time in saving. And the same with your relational change, so to speak. Spend the time now. Take the time you need. Have a lunch, have a dinner, talk with somebody. Clear up your schedule so that you can be that friend that the Proverbs talks about, the friend that sticks closer than a brother. And you'll have somebody to drive you wherever you need to go. And God's people said,